What's up, you guys? As you are well aware at this point, I recently visited Shanghai Disneyland and it was my first international Disney parks experience. So I wanted to make a video just overall like recapping my thoughts about the experience of that park, what I thought, how things went. I haven't really planned this out, so I'm kind of just gonna like talk and see what comes out. But if you have more questions that I don't address in the video, leave them in the comments below. So overall, I had a fantastic time at Shanghai Disneyland. It was an incredible first international park experience. I really loved it. I loved the resort property. I had the best time. One of the like big differences between Shanghai Disneyland and any other Disney park that I've been to in the US is that it doesn't have like a ton of rides, let alone thrill rides. The reason why you've heard about the Tron roller coaster and the Pirates of the Caribbean are because those are like the biggest rides there. Nothing is like really that more thrilling than those two rides. The Tron roller coaster, of course, is a roller coaster and it's Tron themed and it is amazing. It is not necessarily like the most thrilling roller coaster I've been on. I would say Rock 'n' Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios is like a crazier roller coaster, but the theming is so spectacular and the way that you ride it, like you're on a motorcycle, is unlike any other Disney coaster. So that's what's exciting about it. I went on it 4 times, 3 times during the day and once at night. It's great at night, but it's not like that much better. So, you know, if you go, whatever. They have single rider, so never really wait too long in line for that one because you can always do single rider. The Pirates of the Caribbean ride there is nothing like any Pirates of the Caribbean ride at any park you've been to, and is one of the best attractions that I've ever been on in my life at any theme park ever. It is a remarkable attraction and it's hard to even explain what it's like, but if you've seen videos of it, you can tell that it's very different. It's like mixed virtual reality and dark ride. You're in a boat, but you pull in front of huge, like 100 or more foot screens that make you feel like you are in this underwater world and then in the middle of a pirate battle. It's like insane. The animatronics are super realistic and very impressive. It's like crazy. And you aren't just going like straight the whole time like on Pirates here. You're on a track and you go backwards, you go sideways, they speed you up, they stall you in front of things, and it's really an exciting attraction. I went on that one 3 times. And for all of you guys asking if things are in English or in Mandarin, which is the language that they speak in Shanghai, everything for the most part is in Mandarin. But it didn't really inhibit my experience all that much. Things that have English on them are like very important signs, like about rules and regulations. Those will have English and Mandarin on them, but all of the attractions are in Mandarin. So like the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, I didn't necessarily know what they were saying, but like I enjoyed it nonetheless. They also have a Pirates of the Caribbean stunt show there. They have a whole Pirates of the Caribbean land, first of all, guys. They like love pirates over there. Of all of the meet and greet characters, I would say that their favorites there are Captain America, Jack Sparrow, and Snow White. They are wholly unfamiliar with most princesses because, if you didn't know, Shanghai, or China, I mean in general, prohibits certain movies from being released in China. I'm not gonna sit here and explain like the politics behind that, it's just a thing. And so for a long time, movies that came out after Snow White and like before Frozen were not released for like a super long time, and so they really don't know who Belle is, they don't know who Aurora is, they don't know who Cinderella is. My friend who works at the park says that most of the time when people go to meet Aurora, they think she's Barbie because they don't know who Sleeping Beauty is. So there's definitely like a cultural difference between like how familiar they are with Disney. So anyway, they have this whole Pirates land because the Pirates of the Caribbean movies are super popular in China. And so they have this pirate stunt show that is 100% in Mandarin, but I loved it so much even though I could not understand a word of dialogue. The stunts in it are really impressive and I had a great time watching it even though I didn't understand a second of the plot. I've had a lot of questions already about like how difficult it was or wasn't to communicate with cast members. Disney, of course, no matter what country they're in, will do an excellent job of training cast members, and so no matter what, even if we couldn't understand each other, cast members were really eager to help and like trying really hard to communicate with me. Not all cast members speak English, but if you find one who doesn't speak English, they will try to direct you to a cast member who does. Usually a lot of like the managerial positions or guest relations positions would definitely speak English, but like you gotta be prepared to do a lot of pantomiming. Like when I was being like, I'm a single rider, and then they'd be like, okay, over here. But they really don't speak a lot of English or like English very well. But you're in China. What do you expect? A big thing that I heard before going to Shanghai was just how pushy and, by American standards, rude Chinese guests of that Disney park could be. I know a lot of people who went like in the first year that this park has been opened experience a lot of people cutting in line and shoving past you and spitting on the floor and coughing without covering their mouth, and the most extreme is like children peeing into planters or peeing into water bottles and things like that. And I was really super surprised because I didn't experience like almost any of that. Like, yes, there are people who cough without covering their mouth, and something that happens is that people like run to their next attraction, and so that sometimes you get kind of like pushed a little bit. But like, I really didn't experience any cutting. I didn't experience anyone like trying to shove past me in a line. I only saw a kid peeing once, and I wouldn't have noticed if my friend didn't point it out. So I think at this point, guests have maybe like learned a little bit of what is expected at a theme park. That, or I just happen to go at like a calmer time of year. I'm sure that like if you go during Chinese New Year, or if you go in the middle of summer, like it will probably be crazier and you might experience more of that. Another thing that I heard about that I did see a little bit is that they have a problem with people selling illegal merch inside the parks. And I did see that on the day that it was raining. I saw a lot of people trying to sell ponchos inside the park. So that's a thing. Yeah, I was like pleasantly surprised at how good of an experience I had in terms of interacting with other guests. When I went into the city of Shanghai, oh my god, was I shoved and pushed and cut all the time. So it definitely, like, there's so many people who live in Shanghai. It is a very crowded city, and I think people are used to like being in close quarters with each other. Like, personal space is definitely not a thing. Like, I definitely experience that. Like, if I'm in line, like someone is very close to me. But yeah, it's just a little different. And I talked to a couple people who like live in Shanghai and have lived there for like over a year at this point, and they're very sympathetic to these things that happen in the park because, as they explained to me, a lot of cities in Shanghai are not first world cities, and so these people might be coming from a very rural area where they don't have a public restroom or like a built restroom to use on the daily, and they don't know that you can use a restroom at a theme park. They've never even been to a theme park before. So it's good to be pretty like sympathetic to these things when you're in another country, because you don't know like what their life is like, and you don't know what they're used to, and they don't have the same theme park experiences that we do. And so like, I wouldn't be so quick to like get angry and judge these people that you hear things about when you hear about Shanghai Disneyland, because it's just kind of growing pains. What else do I have to tell you? I stayed at the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel. There are two hotels on property. There's the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel and the Toy Story Hotel, which I meant to go see and I didn't. There will be a tour of the Shanghai Disneyland Hotel going up on Thingamavlogs on my next week on Thingamavlogs. So look forward to that. The hotel is beautiful. It's Art Nouveau themed, so it like looks a lot like, honestly, like Club 33 at Disneyland, which is maybe a weird example to use. But yeah, it's like very beautiful. It's a beautiful hotel. And they have a character dining restaurant there that we went to, and they have a very nice restaurant on the top of the hotel where you can watch the fireworks. It was a great experience staying there. Next to Disneyland, they have Disney Town, which is their downtown Disney. That is great. They have a Cheesecake Factory there, they have World Disney, they have Starbucks, and then they also have like more Chinese brands. Another big question that I got about the park was what kind of food that they have. Yes, they have Chinese food. It's somewhat surprising to me how many questions I've gotten from people like asking me how Americanized this park is, because I would think it was kind of obvious that it would be more targeted towards Chinese citizens, because it is. Like, I was like the only white person that I saw like in the whole park. Like, the park was not made for like American tourists. The park was made for Chinese citizens. So that's why everything is in Mandarin and why like all the food is Chinese food. And by the way, food in China is not like Chinese food that we eat in the States. I didn't see orange chicken anywhere. That's not a thing. Their food is like a lot of seafood, a lot of pork, a lot of rice, and it was a little hard for me because I don't eat seafood, so it was always kind of like hoping for chicken. But they have a lot of beef options. I wouldn't say it's like the greatest for vegetarian, but they do have like pizza at a lot of places, and there are a couple restaurants in the park that do serve more American food, like hot dogs and burgers, but I've heard that the hot dogs there are kind of like gross, so I wouldn't recommend them. So yes, be prepared for things to be targeted towards a culture that is not yours for maybe the first time ever. Yeah, so the Tron ride and the Pirates ride are like really their biggest rides, and then the other rides, like the next biggest one is probably the River Rapids ride, which I didn't go on because I know for a fact that there is a huge alligator statue inside that I knew was going to be too much for me, so I didn't go on it. They have these challenge trails that are really crazy, and you can't take your phone on it, so I didn't get any footage of it, but you're like strapped into like a system where you like go on this like challenge trail that is like really kind of scary at parts because you're like walking over like a very like slim bridge over a huge ravine, stuff like that. They have Dumbo, they have like Astro Blasters, they have a version of the teacups that's honey pots for Winnie the Pooh, they have a Winnie the Pooh ride, they have Peter Pan, which is incredible. It's like a bigger, more updated version of the ones that we have at Disney World and Disneyland. They have a Tarzan show that honestly I would maybe not recommend, but we went and saw it and I don't regret seeing it, but it wasn't our favorite. And yeah, they have like a lot of smaller rides like that, like the Fantasia Carousel and things like that. I was told that Chinese people don't necessarily like love thrills, which is why like they don't have like a lot of big e-ticket attractions there. But I had a great time, and I spent 3 days in the park, which I think was enough time to see like everything that I wanted to see. I saw their parade, which was great but very short, and I saw their fireworks show, which is way more of a projection show than fireworks. It's like a lot of projection with like a little fireworks and a little bit of water. I didn't see their castle show. I ate at like multiple places throughout the park. My favorite was probably the Royal Banquet Hall inside the castle. The food there was like my favorite food that I ate in the park. I went on Voyage of the Crystal Grotto, which is the ride that goes through the castle, which is like a bigger version of the Storybook Land canals. When you meet characters there, if they're princesses, they will speak English. Spider-Man and Kylo Ren speak Mandarin. And a lot of the other characters that don't talk back to you likely don't speak English, so keep that in mind when you're meeting them because they probably don't know what you're saying, but they do a very good job of like playing along. Man, I don't know what else to tell you. It was like a crazy experience. It was really great, and I'm so glad that I got the opportunity to see that park, and it was so clean and beautiful and spread out. Everything, there's so much space, and everything is like an Instagram dream. Like all of the shops on Mickey Avenue, which is their main street, were like so beautiful. They have this one building that looks exactly like Scrooge McDuck's bank, and there's like money pouring out of pots in front of it, and like the door is this big vault, and it's just like so great. I went into Club 33 there, which is way less exclusive than our Club 33 because any cast member for the time being can make a reservation to go inside. So we got to go inside because we were with a cast member. But we did not eat there, but I was really appreciative to see the inside because I've never been to like a Club 33 outside of Disneyland. And yeah, overall, it's just like I found everyone to be very like accommodating and nice, and it was like crazy to see like the differences between the parks because like, you know, we don't have a Pirates Land and they don't have a Frontierland because why would they care about the Wild West, and they don't have a Toontown, and you know, just like the way that they chose to build this park and the choices they made are so like significantly different than the parks that we have here in the US, and it's really like fascinating to see. Such a young park. It's gonna grow so much so soon, and I'm glad that I got to see it in its infancy, and I hope I eventually get to go back once it's grown and once these new things that they're planning get added to the park because it's such a wonderful place. I would definitely recommend it. Leo, who's been to Disneyland Paris, enjoyed it a lot more than he enjoyed Paris, so there's that for you. I know everyone in the comments is going to be like, just wait until you go to Tokyo. It's like, alright, let me just enjoy this experience that I had, okay? I will go to Tokyo eventually. I'm glad that I like spent the amount of time there that I did. I didn't go for like a full day. It closes very early. They close like usually at 8, if not like 9 maybe, because like the metro apparently closes very early. So I never really spent like a full day there. I would usually leave around 5 or 6. So it's theoretically possible to see everything in 2 days, but I took 3 just because like eventually just wanted to kind of like take my time and look around. Yeah, man, I don't know what else to tell you. It was wonderful. Let me know if you have other questions in the comments below. I feel like I said everything I wanted to say, but of course you guys will ask questions and I will have more info for you. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about my trip. I was very lucky to be able to go and experience this, and I'm so happy that I got to do it with Leo. So I'll talk to you guys real soon, and thanks again for watching. Bye!